importance, significance, virtue of Durood Tunjeena. Throughout the centuries, in relation to Durood Tunjeena, the awliya and the ulama have mentioned the barakah and virtues of this durood. And this durood sharif, Durood Tunjeena, the awliya kiram in their times throughout the centuries, from the early times of Huzur Sayyidina Ghaus Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the awliya used to instruct their followers in times of great calamities and difficulties to recite Durood Tunjeena. And this is a durood that spiritually was taught to the awliya kiram by the Holy Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam himself.
Subhanallah.
Amongst the stories relating to this durood sharif, just one I'll mention, which is mentioned. Many scholars wrote entire books on the fadail and kalimat of Durood Sharif that have been narrated throughout history. And amongst those books is a book written by 8th century A.H. Scholar and a great Sufi saint by the name of Imam Fakahani rahimahullah ta'ala. And in his book, the name, if I recall correctly, is Al-Fajr al-Munir. In his book, which is dedicated to Durood Sharif, he mentions in relation to this durood, the specific Durood Tunjeena, that in the early times there was a Sufi master, a saint by the name of Shaykh Musa Ad-Darir. And the story is that he mentioned in his book that they were once traveling in a ship in the sea, and amongst the other people who were also traveling in that ship, during their journey, when they were in the middle of the sea or the ocean, a severe storm erupted. And in the books, the name of such a storm is also mentioned, and it was known that when this type of storm occurs in the ocean, if anyone comes across that, very rarely does anybody survive. And this was a well-known thing amongst the travelers on the sea. So this storm occurred, and it was one of those severe storms, and all the people in the ship, they realized that it's impossible to pass through this storm and be saved. So they all had certainty that this is that severe type of storm that no one usually survives. So they all realized that this would be their last journey, and soon the waters and the waves of the sea would take them and they would die. This Shaykh, who was also traveling with them, during that time when all of the other people realized that this is probably their last journey, this Shaykh, he went into a slumber and he fell asleep. And when he fell asleep, he had a vision where he saw the Holy Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. The Holy Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam instructed the Shaykh that don't worry, I will teach you a Durood Sharif, and instruct all of the travelers, all of those who are traveling with you in this ship, to recite this Durood Sharif 1,000 times, and with the barakah of this Durood Sharif, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will save all of you.
Oh.
So the Shaykh wakes up, opens his eyes, informs the fellow passengers of the ship. You see, and as soon as he informed and instructed them, they all started reciting, because when people see death, when they have certainty of death, then they cling on to any hope. If it was a normal case, people heard this story, they would say, yes, this is a story, Durood Sharif, yes, it's Fazail. But the certainty that a human experiences is when he sees death and knows that he's about to die. Then when he recites, you see, we all read, we all make dua that, Ya Allah, do this for us, Ya Allah, let this happen. But the dua of a normal person and the dua of someone who's about to die and he sees death